Okay, YouTubers, so I told you I was going to do 2 videos, and the second one here, I'm not going to show my ugly face on. It's basically about the water. I mentioned in the salt mix video that the salt mixes didn't really matter. You know, it was really the water that mattered. Here's what I mean by that, okay? I did a test in a way. From November of last year up until the middle of July, brace yourselves for this, I used tap water for my water changes. Okay, now that you've picked yourself up out of the floor, there's a reason I did that. One is I wanted to save money. No. The reason I did it was I was doing a test. I was wanting to see how it actually affects the reef tank. And again, I'm not the type that goes by the numbers like your magnesium levels and whatever. I don't go by all that. I'm just the average person that does these. Any sort of fish tank, anyone that works at a pet store or anything can tell you, they don't care about any of that. They just go by what, is there a bunch of algae growing? Are my inhabitants happy? And all that good stuff. So I basically wanted to make it like for the average consumer, I guess you can say. And 2 or 3 things that I noticed. One is my elegance coral is about dead. Even though I've gone back to using actually distilled water, because currently don't have an RO unit anymore, RDI unit anymore. So I'm using, which just the lights haven't been on probably 30 minutes now. But the big thing I noticed is by using tap water, the elegance coral is about on its last leg. But as you can tell, the Xenia has overpopulated the aquarium, and I contribute that to using the tap water. It made the water a little bit dirtier, and they liked it. But I never got algae growth the way that a lot of people will say. I got the good algae. There's purple all over the place, but I never saw hair algae or anything like that. Again, this tank you're looking at right now, the lights have only been on like 30 minutes, so all the corals aren't completely out at the time of the recording of this video. I do have other videos where they're all out. So, they're not all out and all that good stuff right now. Basically, the setup I use is pretty simple. It's live rock with a Lee's protein skimmer and I'm going to probably mess up the pronunciation on the wave maker, Jabeo. It's like a Chinese company. And then on the top of the tank, I put one of those little cheap screens on top because I did lose some livestock where they were jumping out. And actually, if we look closer, you can see a little jellyfish swimming around over there. Oh, it went away. So yeah, I lost some livestock. I would come home and there'd be a dried up fish on the floor, and so I didn't. My favorite fish in here is my maroon clown, and I didn't want her jumping out because I spend a lot of money on her, and I like her. So yeah. So anyways, going back to the topic here, I used tap water, and needless to say, the Xenia went wild. I've used tap water before on a tank that actually was connected to a filter. I don't use sumps. So when I used the filter, algae, it was terrible because, all the stuff was building up in the filter. But when you take the filter out and just use live rock and the protein skimmer, the tap water worked okay. I got used to using it, so it was kind of bad because it was affecting my corals. And so I decided back in July to go back to using zero TDS water. I went with distilled water because I want to do a water change once every other month. Dun, dun, dun. You know, leave me the hate comments below. I guess that's what's going to happen for me saying that. But I do what has worked for me, okay? So I went back to using distilled water, and I do like a 10 to 15 gallon water change every other month. And the only difference that I've noticed is the zinnia isn't as thick as it used to be. They're kind of thinned out, and the water is actually crystal clear. It kind of had like a haze to it at times, is the only way to describe it. It wouldn't be like super crystal clear. But the biggest thing, and I hated doing it, is every day I was having to clean the glass. The front of the glass would always get that film on it, with tap water, always. And then if I let it go 2 or 3 days, that film would turn into brown algae. So since I've switched to distilled, the film has literally gone away. I cleaned this glass today. I'm filming this. It's Thursday. I do any sort of glass cleaning and stuff on Sundays and dosing and all that. So I cleaned it Sunday. And the last water change I did on this was at the beginning, the beginning of August. Because when I did the water changes over back to distilled water, I actually changed every 3 to 4 days. I was doing a 10 gallon water change until I got up to 50 to 55 gallons worth of water change, just to get all of that old nasty water out. Would I ever do that again? Absolutely not. I don't recommend anybody doing that using tap water. I shouldn't have done it myself, so I won't ever do it again. And before I go, I want you to see this little crab. I actually caught this hermit crab in Panama City Beach, Florida at the beach, and brought it back home back in May. And he has harassed just about every coral in the tank. But I'm so far away from the beach, you know, I'm not going to do, you know, I like him. He's kind of cool. We had one before a couple years ago when we went to Florida, and I had a 20 gallon tank then, and I didn't have a top on it. And he got out a couple times. He was in my wife's shoes, and she was freaking out. And when we lived in an apartment at the time, and then when we moved, he was nowhere to be found. Not in the tank, not nowhere. We never found him, so I'll never know what happened to him. So I made sure this time to have a covered, you know, tank. But yeah, so when I was talking about in that video about the water and the type of water that you use, to me that's more important than the salt mix. Using RO, DI water, or distilled water, if you can afford to do that instead, or vice versa, it to me is your best bet. Don't use tap water. Don't do like I did. That elegance coral was so pretty. It was a very beautiful coral, and I sat here and watched her for a year pretty much dwindle down on me and did nothing about it. That could be one part just saying, you know, I just didn't want to go out and spend the money on the water, or second part, you know, it makes it look like I don't care, but I really do. I really enjoy this tank. So yeah, so there you have it. Don't forget to hit that like button. Leave me a comment. Tell me your experience if you've used tap water before, or your experiences with distilled water or RODI water. And share this video with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe. Alright, thanks for viewing.